Okay, we're going to work through this types of reactions worksheet. I'm going to skip the balancing equations part for now, and you can look back at the other videos if you need help learning how to do that, but I'm not going to go over these specific ones. But we will work through trying to figure out what type of chemical reactions these are. So real quick before we start, there's 5 types of chemical reactions that we are talking about. There is synthesis. And with synthesis, I end up with 2 reactants, and they turn into 1 product. So it's 2 things combining together. And then when I have decomp, that's the opposite. That's 1 thing splitting up into 2 products. Combustion is another easy one to identify because combustion is always some type of fuel which has C's and H's in it, plus oxygen. And that gives you carbon dioxide and H2O. So if you ever see that, something plus oxygen gives you carbon dioxide and H2O, that's always combustion. And then single replacement and double replacement are the ones that look a little bit more overwhelming to look at. Single replacement, I usually have something simple, sometimes just a straight up element all by itself, plus something complicated, ends up being something complicated and something simple on the other side. And whatever that simple thing was, joined into the complicated compound and pushed something else out. And then a double displacement are usually the ones that look like the most overwhelming because that's something complicated and something complicated. And it all swaps positions, but you still end up with something complicated and something complicated. So with that in mind, let's look through some of these. We're not going to go over all of them, but I'll give you a couple examples of each one. So let's look at number 1 up here. I have NaBr, and if I look on my product side, my Na and my Br got split up. On my product side, I'm saying this backwards. On my reactant side, I have Ca and OH2, and on my product side, those got split up, and they all joined into new compounds. So I have something complicated plus something complicated yields something complicated plus something complicated. And so that one is a double replacement or double displacement, depending on what worksheet you're looking at, how they term it. If I look at the second one here, I have, even though they look like they're a little bit bigger, this is still really something simple plus something complex forming into something complex. I have 2 reactants going into 1 product, so that is a sign that I have a synthesis reaction. Number 3, I have some C's and H's plus an O2, and that's going to give me a CO2 and an H2O. And when I see O2, CO2, and H2O, that is a combustion reaction. Number 4 looks a little bit weird, but if I look at it more closely and I'm not intimidated by it, I see I have a lead here by itself, and that lead ends up in part of a compound over here. I have H3 and PO4 in my reactants, and my H gets kicked out, and so the PO4 can hook up with the lead. So I have something simple plus something complex gives me something simple plus something complex. Because I ended up with that 1 element on its own, on either side, that's a sign that I have a single replacement reaction. Number 4, I got Li and Ns over here. I got an Li and an N over here. I got NH4 and OH3s over here, and an NO3 and an NH4 over here. So I had something complex plus something complex, and it gives me 2 more complex things. So that is a double replacement. And then for number 6, I have hydrogens and Brs. I got a hydrogen here and a Br here. And then I had aluminums and OH3s, and I got aluminums. And the OH3 is really here in the H2O. It just is not going to show up the same as that polyatomic ion anymore, so it's a little bit confusing. But I have my something complex plus something complex gives me 2 more complex things. So that is a double replacement. I'm not going to go through everything down here at the bottom. We saw lots of double replacements up top, so I'm not going to really do any more of those. But if I just skim down my page real quick, I see CO2s and H2Os for number 9. And I started out with an O2 and some fuels over here. So when I end up with carbon dioxide and water, I know that that is combustion. And scrolling down the page, it looks like there's 1 more of those for you to find. Let's see, what else do I see here that I want to make sure that I show you? All right, if I look at number 11, I got this big complicated thing and it gets split up into two smaller things over here. So if I have one reactant going into two products, that is a sign that I have a decomp. Number 12 is the opposite. If I have two reactants going into one product, that is a synthesis. If I look at number 14, I got something weird here and something simple, and that something simple looks like it split up the weird thing. So that is a single replacement. So keep trying to look through these and let me know if you have any questions, but hopefully that'll give you a good start. Good luck.